Through when the weight of the world feels too heavy to carry, when your heart aches with burdens you can't even put into words, remember, God has not left you, not for one moment. Through this morning, I want you to lift your eyes above the troubles of yesterday and fix them on the one who holds today in his hands. The dawn is a reminder. His mercies are new every morning. Through no matter what you faced in the night, the light of God's presence is breaking through right now. You may be wearied, but he is your strength. You may feel wounded, but he is your healer. You may be standing in the shadows of doubt, but his favor is shining over you. Every battle, every storm, every setback you've endured, it's not the end of your story. Through the God who spoke the universe into existence is speaking life, healing, and hope into you this very moment. So come before him in faith, lay your fears at his feet, whisper your needs, through and trust him with your tomorrow. For the Lord says, I will never leave you nor forsake you. His strength will carry you, his love will heal you, through and his divine favor will open doors no man can shut. Walk into this day not in your own power, but in the power of the living God. Stand tall, speak truth, love deeply, forgive freely, through, and believe that the best is yet to come. Your morning has begun, and with God it will be a day of strength, of healing, and a victory. Through when the burdens of life press against your shoulders, and the weight feels too great to bear, it can be easy to believe you are walking through the valley alone. The silence of certain, the heaviness of certain days can make the heart whisper, has God forgotten me? Yet the truth, unshakable and eternal, through, is that God has never left you, not even for a moment. His presence is not something that comes and goes with the winds of your emotions. It is not a fragile thing that disappears when you are weak or when your faith falters. It is constant, steady, and unchanging, like the firm foundation beneath your feet. Through even when your eyes cannot see him, even when your ears cannot hear him, his hands are holding you still. Think of the times you felt your lowest, when you thought there was no way forward, yet somehow you made it through. You may have attributed it to luck, coincidence, or your own inner strength. Through, but those moments were divine fingerprints on the pages of your life. The unseen grace that carried you, the sudden peace that came in the middle of chaos, through the unexpected provision when you were in need. That was God. He was there when you cried in secret. He was there when you smiled for others but felt empty inside. Through, he was there when you did not even know how to pray. God's presence is not dependent on your ability to feel it. Feelings are fleeting, they rise and fall like the tide. But God's presence is a promise, and his promises do not break. In Psalm 139, the writer declares, where can I go from your spirit? Where can I flee from your presence? The answer is nowhere. Whether you are in the heights of joy or the depths of despair, through, whether you are walking in the light or wandering in the dark, God is there. He surrounds you on all sides, not as a distant observer, but as an active, loving Father who is deeply involved in every detail of your life. Sometimes his presence is like a rushing river, overwhelming you with power and refreshing your soul. Other times, it is like a gentle whisper, a quiet reassurance that you are not forgotten. And there are moments when it is simply the unexplainable peace that comes in the middle of a storm. A peace that does not make sense to the world, but that steadies your spirit through. That peace is not the absence of problems, it is the presence of God in the middle of them. The enemy will try to convince you that God has turned his back on you through, especially when you face pain, loss, or unanswered prayers. He will whisper that your mistakes have pushed God away, that your doubts have closed the door to his love. But those are lies. The truth is that nothing, not your failures, not your fears, not even your seasons of silence, can separate you from his presence. Romans 8 declares that neither death nor life, neither angels nor demons, neither the present nor the future, nor any power in heaven or on earth, can separate us from the love of God in Christ Jesus our Lord. You may not always see evidence of God in the way you expect. We often look for him in grand gestures, in miraculous displays of power, and overlook the quiet ways he is working. The breath in your lungs, the sunrise that greets you, the strength to take one more step when you thought you had nothing left. These are reminders of his nearness. Through he is in the friend who calls you at just the right time, in the scripture that speaks directly to your situation, in the unexpected opportunity that opens a new door. His presence is woven into the fabric of your everyday life, even when you do not recognize it. When you understand that God is with you always, through, it changes how you face life's challenges. You no longer walk into a battle thinking you are outnumbered, because you know the one who fights for you is greater than any enemy. You no longer fear the unknown, because you know the one who holds the future walks beside you. You no longer despair in your weakness, because his strength is made perfect there. This truth is not meant to be just a comforting idea. It is meant to be lived. It means you can pray with boldness, knowing He hears you. It means you can face hard days with courage, through knowing you are never abandoned. It means you can step into each morning with hope, because God's presence goes before you. When you truly grasp this, you realize that even in the darkest valley, you are not lost. You are being led. Even in the fiercest storm, you are not adrift. You are being held. So, the next time you feel alone, remind yourself your feelings are not the measure of God's presence. His promise is, and His promise is that He will never leave you nor forsake you. The Creator of the universe is closer than your next breath, listening to your thoughts, knowing your pain, celebrating your victories, and guiding your steps. You are never unseen, never unheard, never unloved. In every moment, whether filled with joy or drenched in tears, He is there. And that truth, if you hold on to it, will give you the strength to face whatever comes next, not with fear, but with the unshakable confidence that you are never alone. Every morning the world awakens to a quiet miracle, one so constant that it's easy to overlook, the rising of the sun. No matter how long or dark the night has been, dawn always comes. And with that dawn comes something even greater than the light touching the horizon, the renewal of God's mercies. Scripture tells us in Lamentations 3:2-23, because of the Lord's great love, we are not consumed, for His compassions never fail. They are new every morning. Great is your faithfulness. This is not just poetic language. It is a promise. Every single day you live, God offers you a fresh measure of grace, a fresh opportunity to walk with Him, and a fresh start no matter what yesterday held. Yesterday may have been heavy. It might have been marked by mistakes, missed opportunities, or moments you wish you could erase. The night may have felt endless, your mind restless with regrets or fears. But God does not measure you by the weight of yesterday's failures. When the morning comes, He hands you a clean slate, not because you have earned it, but because His love is bigger than your shortcomings. Each sunrise is God's way of saying, I am giving you another chance. My mercy covers you. My compassion surrounds you. My faithfulness will not fail you. It's easy to carry yesterday's troubles into today, to wake up with the same anxiety, bitterness, or exhaustion that you went to sleep with. But to truly embrace the gift of God's new mercies, you must release what's behind you. If you keep clinging to yesterday's pain, you won't have the hands free to receive today's blessings. The dawn is God's invitation to let go. The past is already in His hands. The present is where His mercy is meeting you now. These fresh mercies are not just a feeling. They are practical life-sustaining truths. They mean that the sin you confessed yesterday is forgiven today. They mean that the strength you lacked yesterday will be supplied anew today. They mean that the burdens that wore you down yesterday can be laid at His feet today. God doesn't give you stale grace. He gives you grace that's as fresh as the morning air. And just as your body needs new food each day, your soul needs the fresh nourishment of His presence and His word. The morning is a time to remember that no matter how far you wandered yesterday, His compassions have already gone out to meet you today. Like the father in the story of the prodigal son, He runs toward you with open arms, ready to welcome you, restore you, and empower you. You don't have to earn this welcome. It is the nature of His heart to give it. His mercies are not limited, nor are they rationed. They overflow day after day without running dry. There is a powerful freedom in knowing that each morning is a reset in God's eyes. It allows you to step into the day without the chains of guilt or the shadow of yesterday's failures. But this freedom is not a license to live carelessly. It's a call to live intentionally. Knowing that God renews His mercy for you every morning should make you want to walk more closely with Him, to honor the gift He places in your hands with the rising of the sun. Morning mercy also means morning opportunity. This is your chance to speak life into someone who's discouraged, to extend kindness where there's been tension, to take one step closer to the calling God has placed on your life. Every morning is an open door to live differently than you did yesterday, to grow in faith, to walk in obedience, and to reflect His love more clearly. But just as the new day is a gift, it's also a reminder that time is precious. Every sunrise is one less sunrise left in your life. That reality should stir you to make the most of the time you've been given. Don't waste today replaying yesterday's mistakes or worrying about tomorrow's troubles. For Jesus Himself said in Matthew 6:34, do not worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will worry about itself. Each day has enough trouble of its own. Today is where your feet are, and today is where God's mercies meet you. Sometimes you will step into the morning still feeling the ache of yesterday's wounds. God's renewed mercies don't always erase the pain instantly, but they give you the strength to endure it with hope. His mercy means He is walking with you through the healing process. It means He is providing what you need to take the next step, even when the whole journey feels overwhelming. And in time, you will look back and see that His compassion was present in every breath, every tear, and every victory along the way. So when you wake, make it your first act to thank Him. Before you check your phone, before you speak a word, take a deep breath and acknowledge that you are alive by His grace. Let gratitude shape your first thoughts and prayer be your first conversation. Thank Him that no matter how dark the night, His mercies never fail to find you in the morning. The truth is, the enemy will always try to drag yesterday into today to make you believe you are trapped in cycles you can't escape. But God's mercies say otherwise. They declare that you can rise again, you can start again, you can believe again. And the power of that truth can turn even the most ordinary morning into a sacred encounter with the living God. The sun may rise for the whole world but His mercies rise for you personally. He knows your needs before you speak them, your fears before you face them, your hopes before you dare to dream them. And each morning, He equips you with exactly what you need to walk through the day ahead. Not in your own strength, but in the strength that comes from knowing you are loved, forgiven, and never forsaken. So step into today with open hands and an open heart. Yesterday has passed, tomorrow is not promised, but today is here and God's mercies are new. Let them wash over you, renew you, and carry you. For as sure as the sun will rise tomorrow, His love and faithfulness will meet you again, ready to give you yet another new beginning. Life has a way of wearing us down. Responsibilities pile up, disappointments come unexpectedly, our bodies grow tired, our emotions fray, and sometimes our spirits feel as though they've been wrung dry. In those moments, it's easy to feel as if you're standing on the edge of your own strength, with nothing left to give. But here is the truth that can lift you out of that place. God Himself is your strength, your healer, and the source of divine favor that goes before you. You do not have to walk through this life in the frailty of your own power, because the God who spoke the universe into being offers His strength to carry you, His hand to heal you, and His blessing to open doors no man can shut. When you are weak, He is strong. This is not just a comforting phrase, it is the reality of God's nature. Your strength will run out, for it was never designed to last forever, but His strength is limitless, unchanging, and always available. It doesn't matter if your weakness comes from physical exhaustion, emotional wounds, or spiritual battles. His power is made perfect in weakness. The very moment you feel like collapsing is often the moment God steps in to hold you up. He is not waiting for you to prove how tough you are. He is waiting for you to lean on Him so completely that you no longer carry the weight alone. God's strength doesn't just help you endure, it renews you. It breathes life back into weary bones. It gives you the courage to take another step when the road ahead seems too long. The same power that raised Christ from the dead is at work in you, enabling you to face trials not as a victim but as a victor. You are not meant to survive on scraps of willpower. You are meant to thrive in the overflowing strength of the Almighty. And when life wounds you, and it will, He is also your healer. Healing is more than the mending of a broken body. It is the restoration of a soul, the renewing of a mind, the knitting back together of a shattered heart. God's healing is deep and thorough. He knows the places no one else sees. For the pain you've hidden behind a smile, the scars you've stopped talking about, His touch reaches there, into the hidden corners, bringing wholeness where there was once only hurt. Sometimes His healing comes instantly, like the blind man who could suddenly see, or the woman who touched the hem of His garment and was made whole in an instant. Other times, healing is a process, a slow, steady work where God walks with you day by day, teaching you to trust Him as He restores you piece by piece. The process may feel long, but it is purposeful. In those moments, you discover that His presence in the waiting is just as miraculous as the healing itself. And as your strength is renewed and your heart restored, God surrounds you with His divine favor. Favor is not the same as luck. It is the intentional, loving action of God working on your behalf. It is when doors open that you could never have forced open yourself. It is when protection shields you from harm you didn't even see coming. It is when opportunities come into your path that align perfectly with your purpose, even though you didn't plan them. Favor is God's way of marking your life with His blessings so that others can see His hand on you. Divine favor is not always about getting what you want. It's about receiving what you truly need in the right season. Sometimes favor looks like being placed in the right room at the right time. Sometimes it looks like being delayed so you can avoid danger. Sometimes it even looks like being redirected away from something you thought you wanted so that you can receive something far better. The beauty of God's favor is that it is not earned, it flows from relationship. When you walk closely with Him, you begin to notice that you are not striving as hard as you once did, because His blessing is going ahead of you and making the path straight. Even in difficulty, His favor can be felt, because it brings peace in the midst of chaos and hope in the middle of uncertainty. When you combine these three truths, His strength, His healing, and His favor, you begin to see life differently. You no longer have to fear the seasons of weakness, because you know strength is coming from above. You no longer have to hide your wounds, because you know the healer is near. You no longer have to anxiously force your way forward, because you know His favor is going before you to prepare the way. This changes the way you pray. Instead of begging God to remove every challenge, you can thank Him for the strength to overcome it. Instead of pleading for quick fixes, you can invite Him to do a deep healing work in you. Instead of trying to manipulate circumstances to your advantage, you can rest in the knowledge that His favor will bring you into the right places at the right times. And this truth also changes the way you carry yourself. A person who walks in God's strength doesn't move with fear, they move with confidence. A person who has been healed by God doesn't walk around defined by their past, they walk in freedom. A person covered in divine favor doesn't strive for recognition. They shine with the quiet assurance that God's hand is on them. So if today you feel drained, take heart. You don't have to create strength out of nothing. It's already available to you in Him. If you are carrying wounds that no one else knows about, bring them to the one who sees and heals every hidden pain. And if you've been striving to make things happen in your own power, let go and trust that His favor will accomplish more than all your human effort combined. The God who is your strength will never tire. For the God who is your healer will never give up on you. The God who covers you with favor will never let you walk alone. And when you learn to rest in these truths, you will find yourself walking through life not as someone crushed by its weight, but as someone carried by the very hand of the one who loves you most. There are moments in life when the road ahead feels so dark, so uncertain that you begin to wonder if the pain you're feeling now is how the story will end. The storm seems endless. The valley feels too deep. The losses you've faced weigh on you so heavily that you begin to think nothing will ever change. In those moments, the enemy will whisper that this is it, that your best days are behind you, that you've gone too far, failed too much, or been wounded too deeply to ever rise again. But the truth is this: every struggle, every storm, every heartbreak is only a chapter in your story, not the conclusion. Your struggles are not the end. They are the ground from which God will grow something new. It is in the darkest seasons that the seeds of God's greatest work are planted. Think of Joseph, thrown into a pit by his own brothers, sold into slavery, wrongfully imprisoned. For years it must have seemed like his life was nothing but a series of painful endings. But what looked like endings to Joseph were actually preparations for a beginning far greater than he could have imagined. God was using the very struggles that could have destroyed him to position him for a destiny that would save nations. The same is true for you. What feels like a dead end today could be the very thing God is using to bring you into your purpose tomorrow. Struggles do not mean God has abandoned you. Often they mean He is shaping you. Gold is refined in fire, and faith is strengthened in trials. You cannot develop perseverance without resistance. You cannot grow in trust without moments where trust is all you have. And sometimes God allows the ground to shake beneath you, not to destroy you, but to break apart the things that were never meant to hold you in the first place. This truth doesn't make the pain disappear. It doesn't make the waiting easy. But it gives the struggle meaning. You may be in a season where the answers are slow to come, where the prayers you've prayed for years still seem unanswered. Yet even here, God is working behind the scenes. He is aligning people, opportunities, and resources you cannot yet see. He is preparing your heart so that when the breakthrough comes, you will be ready to handle it with wisdom and humility. The enemy wants you to believe that your wounds define you, that you are nothing more than the sum of your struggles. But God calls you by a different name. He sees you as more than a survivor. He sees you as a conqueror. He sees the victory on the other side of this trial even while you are still in the middle of it. And He promises in His word that He will complete the good work He has begun in you. That means this season is temporary. It is a passage, not a prison. When you understand this, you begin to see your struggles differently. Instead of asking, why me? You can begin to ask, what is God teaching me here? Instead of letting the pain harden your heart, you can let it deepen your compassion for others who suffer. For instead of letting the storm make you fearful, you can let it remind you of the one who calms the wind and the waves through. There is also a power in remembering past seasons when you thought you couldn't go on, but you did. You survived things you once thought would break you. And if God was faithful then, He will be faithful now. Every battle you've been through is a testimony in the making, a reminder to yourself and to others that no matter how bleak it looks through, God is still the author of your story, and He has not written the end over your life. It's important to remember that not all victories are loud and dramatic. Sometimes the greatest victories are the quiet ones. The moment you choose to forgive when you could have held a grudge, the moment you get back up when no one expected you to, through the moment you decide to believe God's promises even when nothing around you seems to match them. These small steps of faith are what carry you from one chapter to the next through. You may feel right now as if you are in the middle of the book with no idea how it ends. But God is both the author and the finisher. He sees the ending, and it is not tragedy. It is redemption. He is the God who takes ashes and makes them beautiful, the God who takes what was meant for evil and turns it for good, through the God who calls dry bones to live again. That means no matter what you've lost, there is still something ahead worth holding on for. So if you are in the middle of the storm, hold fast. If you are walking through the valley, keep going. Do not mistake the middle of the story for the end. This chapter may be hard, but it is not final. God is still writing. And one day you will look back and see that the very struggles you thought would destroy you were actually the stepping stones to your victory. For now, your job is not to see the entire plan. It is to keep walking, keep trusting, and keep believing that God will finish what He started. The night may be long, but the morning will come. The pain may be real, but so is the promise. And when the author of life is holding the pen, the story will always end in hope. Fear has a way of chaining the heart through. It whispers that you are not enough, that your needs are too big, that your prayers are too small to matter. Through it tells you that you must carry your burdens alone because no one, not even God, will truly understand. But the invitation of God is the opposite. He calls you to bring your fears through, your needs, your uncertainties, and lay them at His feet. He calls you to trust Him not just with the parts of life you can control, but with the parts you cannot. He does not ask you to solve every problem before you come to Him. He simply asks you to come. There is something deeply freeing about laying your fears before the Lord. Fear thrives in the shadows, in the corners of your mind where you rehearse worst-case scenarios and cling to control. But when you bring those fears into the light of His presence, they begin to lose their grip. Fear cannot survive where faith takes root. It doesn't mean the problem disappears instantly. It means the weight of it shifts from your shoulders to His. To lay your fears at His feet is to acknowledge two things: that you are not God and that He is. It is to admit that you do not have the power to change everything, but you trust the one who does. This humility is not weakness, it is the starting point of strength. The more you hold on to your fears, the more they hold on to you through. But the moment you release them, you make space for His peace to fill your heart. Trusting Him with your needs does not mean you will understand everything He does. For God's ways are higher than ours, and His timing often feels slower than we want. But His perspective is eternal. He sees what you cannot see, and He knows what you do not know. That is why Proverbs 3:5-6 tells us to trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways submit to Him, and He will make your paths straight. Trust is not built on understanding every detail. It is built on knowing His character, His faithfulness, His goodness, His unchanging love. When you bring your needs before God, you are not presenting them to a distant ruler who must be persuaded to care. You are speaking to a Father who knows you intimately. Jesus reminded us in Matthew 6 that the Father knows what we need before we even ask. This means your prayers are not an attempt to inform God of your situation. They are an invitation for Him to work in it. Sometimes the answer you receive will look exactly like what you prayed for. Other times it will be different, better, or delayed. And yes, there will be moments when the answer is no. But even then, it is the no of a loving Father who sees the danger, the detour, or the greater plan you cannot yet see. Trust means believing that His answer, whatever it is, will ultimately be for your good and His glory. There is also a release that comes when you surrender your fears and needs to Him daily. This is not a one-time act. It is a habit of the heart. Worries will try to creep back in. Old fears will knock at the door of your mind. But each time you have the choice to either entertain them or hand them back to God. Over time, through this repeated act of surrender strengthens your faith. You begin to see patterns, moments where you worried and God came through moments where you feared the worst, but He brought about something better than you imagined. These become your personal testimonies, reminders to trust Him again in the future. So one of the most powerful things you can do is replace fear-filled thoughts with faith-filled words. Start declaring, God will. Instead of replaying your failures, remember His past faithfulness. Speak His promises out loud. Psalm 56:3 says, when I am afraid, I put my trust in you. Notice it does not say if I am afraid, but when. Fear is a natural human response, but trust is a spiritual choice. Laying your fears before God also opens you up to receive His peace. A peace that the Bible says surpasses all understanding. This peace is not just an emotion, for it is a supernatural calm that guards your heart and mind even when the storm is still raging. It allows you to rest not because the situation is easy, but because the one in control is trustworthy. If you find it hard to trust, start small. Give Him one specific worry and watch what He does with it. As you see His hand move in that area, you will find it easier to hand Him the bigger things. Trust grows like a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it becomes. Remember also that laying your fears at His feet is not passive resignation. It is active faith. You are not giving up. You are giving over. You still take the steps you can but you let God direct the path. You still work, plan, and move forward, but you refuse to carry the crushing weight of anxiety that was never meant for you. And perhaps the most beautiful truth is this: when you lay your fears at His feet, you are never met with rejection. He does not scold you for being afraid. He welcomes you, listens to you, and holds you. He gathers your tears, understands your silence, and answers your prayers in ways that sometimes only eternity will fully explain. So come to Him, not just when you are desperate, but every day. Bring the small concerns and the big ones. Bring the fears you can't even put into words. For lay them all at His feet and trust Him with your whole heart. For the one who calmed the sea can calm your spirit. The one who fed thousands with a few loaves and fish can provide for your every need. And the one who gave His life for you will never withhold what is truly good. Your fears may be loud, but His voice is louder. Your needs may be great, but His provision is greater. When you truly believe this, you will find that the act of laying your fears before Him is not a burden, it is a privilege. And in that place of surrender, you will discover a life marked not by constant worry, but by constant peace. There is a completely different way to live when you realize you do not have to walk in your own strength. Many people step into each day leaning entirely on their own wisdom, their own energy, their own plans, only to find themselves exhausted, frustrated, and worn down before the day is half over. But when you begin your day with the awareness that the living God is your source, you stop relying solely on what you can do and start moving in the power of what He can do through you. Walking in God's power changes everything about the way you face the hours ahead. God's power is not just a vague spiritual idea. It is the very strength that spoke creation into existence, that split the Red Sea, that raised Jesus from the dead. And that same power is offered to you, not for your glory, but so that your life can reflect His. When you walk in His power, you carry yourself with the quiet confidence that you are not alone in any situation. You may not know what the day will bring, but you know the one who holds the day in His hands. This kind of living begins in surrender. It starts when you choose every morning to place your plans before Him and say, Lord, guide my steps. Give me the strength to do what I cannot do on my own. Surrender is not about passively sitting back and doing nothing. It is about actively inviting God to lead, to empower, and to open the right doors. It is the realization that you are not the captain trying to get God to follow your map. You are the servant gladly following His. When you walk in His power, you can stand tall even in the face of challenges that would normally make you crumble. His strength enables you to face criticism without becoming bitter, to endure trials without losing hope, to love people who are hard to love, and to forgive those who have wronged you. These are not natural reactions. They are supernatural ones, made possible only by His Spirit working in you. Walking in God's power also means speaking truth even when it is unpopular. It means standing for righteousness when others bow to compromise. It means letting your life be a light in a world that often prefers the shadows. And this is not about arrogance or self-righteousness. It is about humility, knowing that the boldness you have comes from Him alone. Another mark of walking in His power is the ability to love deeply. Human love often has limits. It can grow tired, frustrated, or conditional. But God's power in you enables you to love with patience, to show kindness without expecting something in return, and to care for people who may never care for you back. Through this is the kind of love that changes hearts, the kind of love the world cannot explain. It also means forgiving freely. Through forgiveness is one of the clearest signs of God's power at work in a person's life because it goes against human nature. On your own, you might hold grudges, rehearse offenses, or wait for someone to deserve forgiveness. But when God's power is flowing through you, you forgive because you have been forgiven. You release bitterness not because it's easy, but because you refuse to let it poison your soul. And perhaps one of the most important parts of walking in His power is believing that the best is yet to come. The world will try to convince you to expect disappointment, to brace for failure, to lower your hopes so you won't get hurt. But God's power fills you with faith, a faith that sees beyond what is visible, that trusts His promises even when circumstances seem to say otherwise. When you truly believe that God is with you and working through you, you begin to live with purpose. Every conversation matters, every act of kindness matters, every choice matters. You start to realize that you are an ambassador of His kingdom wherever you go, whether you are in a boardroom, a classroom, a kitchen, or a crowded street. Your life becomes a reflection of His character, and your actions point people toward Him. This does not mean life becomes easy. Walking in God's power does not remove trials. It transforms the way you face them. You may still encounter obstacles, but instead of shrinking back in fear, you move forward with courage. You may still face loss, but instead of sinking into despair, you lean on the hope that He is still working all things for good. You may still feel moments of weakness, but you know that His strength is perfected in that very weakness. The more you live this way, the more you see His fingerprints in your daily life. You notice divine appointments, conversations you didn't plan but that seem orchestrated by heaven. You see prayers answered in ways you could not have imagined. You experience peace in situations that once would have sent you into panic. This is the fruit of walking in His power. It changes not just your circumstances, but your heart. And every day, this kind of living requires a choice. You can either step into the day with the mindset, I will handle this on my own, or you can start by saying, Lord, empower me for what's ahead. One path leads to exhaustion, the other leads to strength, peace, and purpose. So stand tall today, not because you are strong enough, wise enough, or perfect enough, because the one who lives in you is. Speak truth with courage, love without limits, forgive without hesitation, and move forward with the unshakable belief that God's best for you is still ahead. Your day is not just another page in the calendar. It is an opportunity to walk in the power of the living God. And when you do, you will find that no obstacle is too great, no calling too high, and no day too ordinary to be used for His glory.